Hello and welcome back to the channel. So this video was inspired by Queen Sovereign. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I've visited her channel a few times and I definitely love her channel. And I was watching one of her live videos. It was like 2 hours, but it was so good. And she actually shouted out, and that's like my dishwasher in the back. I hope it's not too loud for y'all. But she shouted out Exoticals United. Shout out to her too. And I didn't know like the channels were connected, which is so funny because like in exotical community, there was like this thing where like we noticed different people having similar talking points, but they weren't exotical channels. And I was like, well, that's funny. But a lot of these channels are connected, which is super cool. So shout out to her. But she's talking about like men and how they siphon energy and stuff like that, and how a lot of them are. And when women say that these niggas be good, hear me out. It's not that they're all necessarily homosexual, if that makes sense. There's a lot of different ways to express intimacy and connection and fascination sexually and romantically. And sometimes these men are sexually attracted to women, but not romantically, or vice versa. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. But I liked how she talked about how a lot of men use sex to get closer to other men. And some of these guys are just bisexual and hiding. Some of these guys are just transgender and hiding. But I really want to break it down, like on a level where it's just a pattern that I've noticed. But yeah, she was mentioning like how some of these men will, like, for example, let me give you an example. And this is something I'm just thinking of off the top of my head. A lot of black men, when they're dating white women, they see that as a form of reparations to white men. They really think that for Black History Month, instead of, I don't know, being a pillar in your community and being a representation of your people, I'm going to just fuck a white bitch. That'll get them. That'll show massa, right? So a lot of men, they use sex to get proximity to other men. That's why they have this thing of like body counts and, oh, you smashed a homie and all this other stuff. It's like, I don't know. It's like they think about men more than they think about the woman itself, if that makes sense. Like, they can't just enjoy being with a woman without wondering, oh, what other dude? You know what I mean? And some of that stuff can't just be jealousy and possessiveness, or like purity politics, but sometimes it's something else. And I found it funny because she was saying that, men, they have this thing called pussy envy, where they're just jealous of everything that a woman has and the ability that, we have as women and how we maneuver through the world. And the fact that they need us. Like, women, we find different forms of validation in art, music. If you're a social person, then I'm pretty sure your friends mean a lot to you. There's a lot of different things that we use to fuel ourselves, and we can offer so much to the world. And I'm not saying that some men can't. There are men out there who grew up in really productive feminine environments, like maybe they were really close to their mother, or they had a lot of female friends. Some of those guys are like kind of not the goodest though. I know guys where they have a lot of female friends and they're really close to their mother, but like in a manipulative way, like where they're kind of like I said before, like they're kind of like infiltrating female spaces so they can have like an upper hand. They're not genuinely submitting to divine feminine energy, which is a whole nother story. But some of these men, like, they can be like that. But anyways, I was thinking about one of the things she said, and she said, a lot of men, they have this pussy envy and they want to be a badder bitch than you. They will suck up your energy. And I mentioned this in my video titled, Men Are Not Our Friends. What is his use for you, love or lust or labor? And this is something, it took me a long time to kind of accept it and realize it, but I'm so happy that there are other people picking up on that. And it's very true. And a lot of men, they have a hard time explaining, for the women that it's lust, it's really easy because they know, oh, you're beautiful, da 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 da. But when it comes to the labor part, they have a hard time accepting the fact that we give so much more to them than they could ever give to us. There's no amount of money in the world a man can offer you for, the energy and the time and consideration that you give him, because you can't really get that back. There's always more money to be made. I'm not getting my best years back. That's why men fiend over women that are super young, So they try to act like, and she mentioned this in the video, they try to act like only tangible things matter. That's why they say, oh, 50-50, or what do you bring to the table, knowing damn well my essence alone is enough to make your whole day, if not your whole week. Like, I think if women knew how valuable and how meaningful just a glance from us to men, what that means to them, we wouldn't do it so sparingly. Or we would do it, in a way where it benefits us to our highest good. We wouldn't just be sitting in a dual face thinking, oh, this is my friend, you know? So something else she said that I really liked was, if men woke up like in a woman's body, they have a million things that they would do because they already live vicariously through us, right? And she said, well, what would a woman do if a woman woke up in a man's body? Probably cry, right? Or like off herself or something. And, I find that funny because not like offing yourself, but it made me think of like men and how they bring up how men are more likely to do stuff like that. And it's because you guys are like miserable. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. A lot of men, and when she said, what would a woman do if she woke up in a man's body? I was thinking, shit, cry, just like the lady said. But then I thought about it. And she said, like, go like on a walk at night, because a lot of women feel like we can't do that because men are predators. And but what I thought about, the first thing that came to my mind when I thought about if I woke up in a man's body, you want to know what I would do? What power that I would have? The power of opinion. I like to consider myself an intellectual. Whenever I come up with a new theory or a hypothesis, or I'm coming across something that I recognize a pattern in, but I can't necessarily prove it just yet, but I just want, to share this information with someone and possibly get their opinion, I've been met with so much restriction. And that's why I'm so grateful for this YouTube channel, because like, you guys just don't know how much it means to me to be able to speak the things in my mind, whether they make sense or not, and have someone on the other end going, all right, okay, I get that, I don't get that, that makes sense, okay. Like, that means a lot to me, your feedback. That's why I always say leave a comment, because I genuinely care what you have to say, and I take it into consideration when I'm making the next video. So it means a lot to me, and not just from men, but just from people in general. I feel like when you're a very intellectual woman and you're very passionate about what you believe in, people like to dim that light a little bit. And I noticed that men just don't get that. Not to the same degree. They just don't. And that would probably be the first thing that I do if I ever wake up as a man, is have an opinion and see how far people will go to give me resistance, to convince me I don't know what I'm talking about. And then later on, absorb everything I'm doing and spit it to the next person. Yeah, that would probably be the first thing I do if I woke up as a man. And I was thinking to myself, I got really deep with it. I was like, all right, so done. I'm going to have an opinion. What else would I do if I was a man? What's really the privilege of being men, since they act like, life is only hard for them? I would have opinions. I would exercise my physical privilege, whether that means taking a walk late at night, knowing I can defend myself, going on a vacation, knowing I won't be sold into human trafficking if I'm solo traveling, being a man. So having opinions, exercising my physical strength. And then I thought about it. Well, that's pretty much it. Being a man is kind of like sad when you think about it. That's really all they got. And then they make money to have access to women, or to have access to reproducive women, whether that be just for children. Because I know a lot of gay men with kids. So I'm just leaving that there. So some men just want to reproduce, and some men actually want the sex, and some men just want to suck up your energy for whatever they're going to use it for. So as a man, if you still want to live in this life, you need beautiful women around you. Even gay men don't give ugly women the time of day. Even the gay ones. So it's not just a sex thing. Like, they live for us in a way. And in some ways, I kind of feel bad for them, because it's like, damn, like, picture waking up every day with a stiff one, and the only thing that's going to do it for you is a woman that allows you into her space. Sounds kind of miserable. So all we got right now is having opinions, power of the patriarchy, having physical strength, and earning access to women. Other than that, men really have nothing. So that's like the basis level of men, like what a man does in his 24-hour cycle. So I thought, like, what about the next level? What about the next level of men, right? So the next level of man is like a feminine man, like a chef or an artist or a musician. Maybe he's a spiritual guy, a guy that's not like other guys. You know what I mean? And these men, they usually have a lot of female friends. They usually have like a lot of sisters. They're usually very social. Even if they don't get the type of play that they want from women, they're not insecure about it. Like, even if they can't bag the baddest bitch, they'll be friends with her. And it helps them get like more attention from other women, right? This is like the second level of man, where he's not going to be like, may I have a crumb of pussy, please, to every woman he meets just to get her energy, because he already has an abundant form of feminine energy, just not sexually, right? That's like the next level. So the level after that, when it comes to men and how they can operate in a world where they actually need women to move, but they're not even realizing it. The next level after that is the gay men. This is the DL niggas. These are the niggas that they've accepted the fact that being a man and what it takes to be a man, especially if they're black, or maybe they're in a position where, you know, they don't feel satisfied in life and they feel like being a man is too hard. Why do I got to take a woman on a date? Why do I got to buy the flowers? What are you going to do for me? Once a nigga starts saying shit like that, he at this level. So these are the DL. I've seen it with my own eyes, y'all. I've seen it with I shit you not. I have seen this play out in real time. He's gay. He's gay. Because a nigga that love pussy, I'm sorry, I'm not even trying to be vulgar right now, but I'm just being for real with y'all. A nigga that love pussy would just be grateful that he can even offer you anything to get something like that in exchange. He's grateful they're even willing to consider, you know, doing something like that with him. So if a nigga complaining about it, he's already far gone. I'm just letting you know that right now. So that's the next level. Now the final level, if I was a man and if I woke up as a man and I wanted to like max out opportunity in this lifetime, I would just be transgender. Now I have nothing against the transgenders. I have nothing against them, but I'm just saying, if I was a man and I thought, you know what, I'm not doing this, I would just become a woman. And that's like a lot of, I don't know if you guys noticed lately, but there's more transgender women than there are men. But yeah, that's just something I found interesting. And also, I heard a story about a woman who, I don't know if she was actually like a transgender man or if she just did it for like a social experiment. But she did that and she filmed it and she became believable enough to be like a man and like a young man. And people treated her so terribly and she ended up offing herself. And I don't know. I don't know. I do find that really sad. And I do take men's health seriously overall for the most of it. But I feel like men don't really take their mental health seriously. So it makes it hard to kind of, care in a way. But yeah, this is definitely something I've noticed when it comes to men and the way that they perceive women and access to women. And again, this isn't every single person down to like an individualistic state. It's more like a subconscious thing. A man might not, only like a narcissistic person or an opportunistic person is consciously aware that they're doing this. A lot of men will have a woman in their life and be oblivious to the fact that she's energetically pouring into him. And when they break up, he'll be like, oh, what did you do? You put voodoo on me. The whole time the girl's like taking care of you, and as soon as that energy is gone, your life goes back to the way it was before. So a lot of men, especially like when they get divorced and they say stuff like, oh, why do you want half of my money? I've worked for it. They don't really see the intangible labor that they're putting you through, you know? And it is something to consider when you're thinking about spending the rest of your life with one of them. But yeah, this was my little inspiration video from her live. And make sure you subscribe to her channel. Her content is really, really good. And it just goes into like more psychology and more untapped concepts of psychology that a lot of people, they just don't like to go there. A lot of people like to know enough about psychology to get where they want to go in life. They don't really like digging into the dark, deep things that make, all people look bad. and make us second think a lot of things. So that's what I kind of like about her channel, is that it taps more into that. I know people overuse the term like dark feminine, but I don't care. Like, I'm grateful that it's even a term, because a lot of women, they kind of sheer away from that, and a lot of women practice dark femininity and don't really realize it. And just being aware of these things, knowing what you're dealing with, it's really helpful. And what I love about, I know there's a lot of fuck shit on the internet nowadays, but what I love about the internet is that, people are really sharing their ideas, their experiences, and this is stuff where our mothers really couldn't have taught us this. Like, I've heard little sayings like, oh, he got sugar in his tank and little stuff like that. But this is just some stuff where it's like, it's just experience. And I really don't have anything against well, I don't really respect DL, because I feel like you should be honest about like who you are and stuff like that. But I don't have anything against like bisexual men or anything like that. It's just like the audacity to be the type of dude to tell a woman, oh, well, a woman got to do this and do that, and you're gay. Like, you doing the bending. So it's just ridiculous to me. And another thing I find funny, I'm going to relate this to the Shannon Sharp scenario. And let's take the DL stuff out of it and go to like another fetish or kink that a lot of men, because honestly, I feel like once you know what a guy's into sexually, it kind of, the same way they say like a woman's body count, that'll like lower your value. Knowing their kinks lowers their value too, because a lot of dudes be into some weird stuff. um yeah, there's pretty a lot of vanilla guys out there, and vanilla just means you're not really into anything super kinky. But I think the majority of men, like, they're kind of like this, and it kind of reminds me of the Shannon Sharp situation, where he wants to give advice to women, or black women, or young women, when the whole time you're doing race play with a teenager. Like, wouldn't that make your opinion on relationships redundant? So a lot of these men feel like their sexual fetishes or their sexual preferences get them, they don't have to take that into consideration when they're giving advice to other people or casting judgment on other people. And I don't think that's fair, because women are not held to that standard. If you have any sexual history or past, it's going to stick on you like a felony. Like, it's not going anywhere. But men get to, like, even like Kevin Samuels, and God rest his soul, the way he passed, it was very hypocritical. You're telling women to do this and be all that, and you're like sleeping with some Latina girl that you had no intentions on marrying. It's one of those things where they don't practice what they preach, and it's very hypocritical. And knowing, about sexual subconscious in men, I think it's something that women should educate themselves on. Even if your guy is not like this, and you're with a guy who's not like this, that's amazing. But just to know, because even with me, like, when it comes to a lot of the red pill stuff, I know people like in my family, people who I was friends with, who are men, who have, kind of took in the Kool-Aid when it comes to this red pill stuff, and they really digest this stuff and like embrace it, which is really sad. Um, and it's one of those things where, toxic masculinity has always been around, but just the rise of men and the sassy era and all this other stuff, and it's really interesting to me. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful day.